Oh, yeah.
And now, our feature presentation.
We saw that several years ago, and I don't want to see that happen again. It's going to benefit no one. Khalid and I both were shot by black men, but that does not make the black man the enemy. Any more than if we were shot by white men would it make the white man the enemy. Our enemies cannot be recognized by their state of color, but rather their state of mind. All black men do not think alike, any more than white men think alike. We are all different. God, in His divine plan, has made us individuals. We have the right of freedom in this country. And I would like to see it flourish rather than die. Never in the annals of human history has so few done so much so often to take so much and hurt so many as the warlords of Washington and Wall Street. There isn't anything that you have or ever had or ever hope to have that they're not planning on taking away. They want it all. And they intend to get it all. Khalid says that the white man is the enemy. But I say he is in part right. It is not the white man that is the enemy, but it is certain white men. All right, now if somebody has a problem in telling the difference, then they need to get educated. Am I your enemy because I am white? Am I your enemy because I tell you the truth? I take a look at the chart of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. This is mainly made up of white men. If I take a look at David Rockefeller, I take a look at Henry Kissinger, and George Bush, and Comrade Clinton. They're all from the same organization, the Council on Foreign Relations. 30 years ago, I produced these albums called the Illuminati CFR, 1967. From these albums came a number of books. None dare call it conspiracy. That particular book is put out at this present time by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, a man who I happen to respect, a man who has got the message, a man who, like Malcolm X, has discovered that it is not the white man that is the enemy, but certain white men. And I think that there is a widening difference between Khalid Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan, and I'm going to discuss that difference in a moment. When Khalid talks about killing the white man, killing the mothers and the sisters, the brothers, the babies and grandma and the cripples, and burying them and digging them up and killing them again. That is the talk of a black bigot. We're talking about, at least I'm talking about, America's Black Hitler. And I think he has deserved that title. Racism can be exploited. And I believe Khalid Muhammad is exploiting that. See, we have an opportunity to change things around. We have an opportunity to incite a revolution, to avoid a revolution. This is an awakening, and this awakening must happen. Because when I say they intend to kill you, I'm talking about this Cassius cartel, I'm not kidding.
Are they white?
Yes, they are white. There is no question that the enemy in this country is white. And we have to recognize it. But it is not the white man collectively. It is certain white men. The Central Intelligence Agency is the control arm of the Council on Foreign Relations. In the CIA, actually, started by Wild Bill Donovan. From the OSS, it went to the CIA. Walter Bedell Smith from 1945 to 53. Allen Dulles from 53 to 1961. John A. McComb. And that was from 61 to 63. And then from Richard Helms from 63 to 69. From 69 to 77, James Schlesinger, William Colby, George Bush. George Bush was ambassador to Communist China. In fact, a fellow at a party one time had told me about a situation where he was in Vietnam, actually I think in Laos at this particular time. They were dealing in drugs, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the suits had just come in. And this fellow was taking wounded, and they were putting him in this helicopter to fly out. When the suits arrived, the head suit was taking the wounded out of the plane. He said, "What are you doing? The lives of these men depend upon them going." He says, "No, we've got to get the heroin out." And this fellow took a gun, 45. He cocked it, and he put it at the head of the chief suit. He said, "The wounded goes out first. The heroin goes out second." Later, this man was in trial. This was in Las Vegas. And the Secret Service had come up in this trial. And they accused him of making threats against the life of the president. And this man looked back, he said, he wasn't the president then, he was just another dope dealer. And we're talking about George Bush. Here's a picture of George Bush and Pineapple Head and Noriega. They said that he did not know Noriega. Drugs that come into this community by the Central Intelligence Agency for destabilization programs. They want you to be brought into a riotous situation. They want a black-white confrontation situation. They want it to flare up. They want it to be inflamed because they want to bring in the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And from that, they will incarcerate you and bring the young black men into prison for slave labor. That is their intention. Years ago, I had predicted the assassination of President Kennedy, and it occurred. I predicted the assassination of Martin Luther King, and it occurred. That occurred about 3 months after I had made that prediction. And still there was another, of Bobby Kennedy. And at that particular time, I was at the Ambassador Hotel. I was trying to disrupt things with the Kennedy campaign. We had bumper stickers that said, "Keep the faith, Kennedy Powell 68. Powell was being indicted. I figured that the black community might go for that ticket, which I thought would destroy Kennedy. Because I wanted to see him taken out politically, not physically. Suddenly, there was an explosion. The whole room erupted and everybody was scrambling. The fellow was being brought out in handcuffs. And I took a look at him and I knew that he was hypnotized. And I knew the events that were going to occur, they were going to try to blame this assassination on those individuals of like mind who were in my company. I put a little disinformation out. We put out a book called The Man, the Mysticism, and the Murder. And at that time, they were so frightened of the message which was coming out through the McNaught Syndicate, through Walter Winchell, and I was dealing with Walter at that particular time. We had written the articles for 5 front-page headlines. But then they decided to put out a message to all of those who were trying to discover what was happening about the assassination. And they put out a book called The Assassination of Robert Francis Kennedy. I'm in that book, accused of hypnotizing Sirhan to kill Bobby Kennedy. Did I? No. But I mean, it was a wild accusation, and some people believed it. And some people believe that I'm an agent provocateur. Some people believe that Khalid Muhammad is an agent provocateur. But I take a look at what's happening in this country, and I know that we have to change things around. I take a look at the statement, and this is by Dr. Bertrand Russell. And this is the title of one of our tapes called Mega Murder, the Final Solution, the Genetic Engineering of AIDS. He said, war has been disappointing in this respect. And we're talking about eliminating massive amounts of people off the planet Earth. They intend to reduce the population of this planet by 1,250,000,000 people by the turn of the century. They consider you to be expendable, to be useless eaters. They are elitist, they are racist, they are insane. And these people control the United States of America. Dr. Bertrand Russell, who was an early Illuminist, was disappointed in the fact that the world population is increasing about 58,000 per diem. That's what he said at the time. He said war so far has been unsuccessful in reducing the numbers of the individuals. He said war has hitherto been disappointing in this respect, but perhaps bacteriological war may prove effective. If a black death could spread throughout the world once in every generation, survivors could procreate freely without making the world too full. This man was party to a plan to destroy the black race. AIDS was genetically engineered. It was designed to kill you. It came out in a laboratory, and a friend of mine, Dr. Robert Strecker, and I have worked together. We put out a tape called Mega Murder. He's also on Mega Murder, the Final Solution. Dr. Strecker's tape is handled by Louis Farrakhan. Bill Cooper's book, Behold the Pale Horse, is handled by Louis Farrakhan. The Unseen Hand is handled by Louis Farrakhan, by Ralph Epperson. Of course, Khalid thinks that Epperson is the devil. He must think that Dr. Strecker is the devil. And certainly Dr. Lynn Horowitz, who's come out with the book Emerging Viruses. And Dr. Horowitz has been with none other than Louis Farrakhan. And I'm wondering where all of this is taking us. I see at one hand Farrakhan exposing the enemy within, directionalizing his attacks, making sense. On the other hand, I take a look at Khalid Muhammad, making no sense at all. I'm going back to Nazi Germany for a moment, and at the end of the war, the OSS, at the end of the war, the OSS, which became the CIA, brought in 1,500 German scientists and doctors. They were involved in genetic engineering. Here's a particular picture. This is with Nazi Germany's wartime rocket chief, Walter Dornberger, on the left. He's seen with Werner von Braun. Dornberger set the schedule, and 20,000 individuals